Hello, Oaks at Chain Lane investors. Let's go Mets. Today at our co-working office, we're celebrating baseball. So everyone's wearing hats, t-shirts, pants for their favorite baseball team. So we're celebrating the Mets. Sorry, Yankee fans. I know we have a few Yankee fan investors out there. Sorry we stole Soto from you guys. Feels good to take him from you and make the Mets better. And if you're offended by that, sorry. Let's go Mets. So let's give you an update on the Oaks at Chain Lane property. Very excited. Takeover has gone very smoothly. As you know, occupancy has been trending upward through the contract period, and we continue to do that. We're about 95% occupied and 96% leased. That actually is an indication that our rents are too low. So across the board, we pushed across all unit types, we pushed rents to $75 per unit above the existing rent. And we actually hit one of those lease rates. A 2-bedroom this week went from $1,300 to $1,375. We got an executed lease for that particular unit. Typically you do a detailed rent comp survey. We have an AI tool called Hello Data that we use. It gives you an initial kind of look at the rent comps and the competitive set and what the other properties are charging for rents. So we're using that initially, and then our property manager is creating a detailed rent comp survey, calling competitive properties, gathering data, kind of figuring out where our rent is compared to the market. The main competitor is that property across the street, Heritage. We just got to keep tabs on that one, but there are other properties kind of in the area that we compete with. So that's part of the process. So things going smoothly so far. So we actually had a little issue when we took over the property with our mailboxes. So apparently a homeless person potentially came through the property with a crowbar and ripped apart the mailboxes trying to steal the mail. A lot of these guys will take the checks. There's a way to kind of like get rid of the writing on the checks and basically, use people's checks and steal people's money from them. That's probably what the guy was doing. Our property manager, she's a pit bull, Cassie, she went down to the post office, argued that the mailboxes are owned by the post office, not by us. They were trying to push the cost on us. She was able to convince them that they do own the mailboxes. We didn't budget for new mailboxes. We thought about it, but because they're in really bad shape, they don't look great. So thankfully, the post office is going to be paying for our mailboxes. As taxpayers, we end up paying for it, but as investors, we're getting them for free. So we're getting upgraded mailboxes. So that was really, really good news, turning lemons into lemonade. We're also going through the process. We mentioned this during the last newsletter, going through and getting bids for all the work, the lender required work, our CapEx work. We have the city of Hotham City coming out to the property, doing their inspection. So those three kind of lists of items, we want to combine them before we push out bids for, the gutter, which is the main, putting gutters around the mansard, painting the mansard. That's like the main project. So we want to make sure that we pool all the three lists together when we push these bids out. So those bids will go out next week because we have the Hotham City inspection this week. So moving that process along. One of the projects we planned on doing, we mentioned in the last newsletter, was upgrading the website, the property website. Looked a little bit tired. It wasn't great in regards to kind of like call to action, like how do I lease up a space? You want that like front and center. We saw a mock-up yesterday. It looks really, really good. We have a weekly call with our property manager and our GP team. It looks really good. It looks much better than the previous website. The one piece of feedback that we had was move that, how do I lease a space up to the top? But generally really good. It has the 3 unit types. They all look exactly the same, which makes it kind of easier to underwrite and kind of look at the property. 3 different floor plans, 1 bedroom, 2 bedroom, 3 bedroom, and it shows by unit type what's available, when they'll be available, what the price is. It's very clean and straightforward, so we're really excited to get that rolled out. We transferred the roof warranty over to us, which is great. That's super important for us. It's super important for next buyer, kind of taking that over. We're working on an energy contract and kind of getting that cost down. And that's something you can do in Texas. And we also, kind of last point, is we sent a survey out to our tenants. Our fiduciary responsibility is to make money for you guys, but we also are landlords with a heart, and we want to get tenants' feedback on like pain points, things that are troubling them. We gave them some feedback on like some of the projects that we're thinking about, the playground. If they have any ideas, just to solicit their feedback and making sure that they feel like they're part of the process. So we got some feedback on that. We'll continue to compile that, and it will be good input into the property. So overall, this property performing very, very well right out of the gate. Just as we discussed, we feel very blessed to get this property. This property has performed very well through all of the kind of issues that a lot of C-class properties in DFW have seen: drop in occupancy, increase in delinquency. This property doesn't have those issues. We had a little uptick in delinquency recently. We had some skips. We think some of the people that are skipping are maybe self-deporting, and some of the your investors, some of the LPs asked about that. So we feel like the people that were potentially illegally here and kind of maybe committing crimes, not to get political, those people kind of moved out. We also implemented the kind of AI tool to check for fraud, and we had one person that seemed maybe a little bit shady, and we told them kind of all the tests that we're going to have them submit documents and everything, and they kind of never submitted their information. So that maybe was a fruitful thing to not have them come in the property. So if you have any questions about the property, you can reach out to me, Nick, reach out to Ellie, reach out to Andrew. Just let us know. Feeling really good about this, and we'll continue to keep you updated on a monthly basis. Thank you.